little picture, a figure with a rectangle. And say something about the length is 4 meters greater than the width. So what would you recommend we do?
When it's 4 meters greater than the width,
The length is 4 meters greater than the width. Yes, correct.
is it twice or when
So,
it's greater?
okay, so you have $10 in your pocket, and I have an amount that is $4 greater than what you have. Correct? Perfect. Okay, so then any notations, anything you can think of, what do I write? Which one? Exactly, which means you are really telling me that you denoted the width by x. Awesome. So the width is x, and the length is 4 more than the width. Acceptable? Okay, so now I read on, and it says the area of this garden is 96 square meters. So, how do I create an equation that I can solve so I can find x? So let's think about how we find the area of a rectangle. What is the formula? So this side has to be a formula.
X plus 4 times that?
Awesome. Indeed. Length times width, or width times length. Better, because it's easier to write. Good. So x times x plus 4 equals 96. What now?
Distribute.
Yes, and then?
And then subtract 96.
Yes, and now we understand that we should be doing these two steps in one. Yeah, finally. Very good. X squared plus 4x minus 96 equals 0. There is no point in writing this twice. First I move 96 and then I distribute. Perfect. So now I have to find, I'm going through the strategy. So it's a trinomial, it's in descending order. Greatest common factor?
No.
No. Negative leading coefficient?
No.
Special product? Nope, because it's a negative 96. And 96 is not a perfect square anyway. Perfect. But what is the leading coefficient? So it's not that long thing that I have to perform, right? It's easier. So I'm looking for two numbers whose product is,
12 and negative 8.
okay, x plus 12, x minus 8 equals 0. So then the product is negative 96, and the sum is positive 4. Indeed, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. The product is indeed negative 96, the sum is indeed positive 4. So these must give us the answer, for sure. So x equals and x equals. And the solutions are?
8 negative 12.
Yes, 8 meters and negative 12 meters. Algebraically, from solving the equation, these two solutions are legitimate. However, in the context of the problem, one of them is not. Which one is not legitimate?
Negative 12.
So we can say that the dimension or the length of the width is 8, and what will be the length of the length, or the measure of the length? 12 meters. Very good. Any questions about this? Okay, so let's look at page 435, and let's look at more word problems from there. If you have your book, if not, I will write the problem. A rocket is fired from the ground with an initial velocity of 440 feet per second. Its height h after t seconds is given by. So I'm looking at problem 65 on page 435. And h is given to us as negative 16t squared plus 440t. How many seconds pass before the rocket reaches a height of 2,800? Find how many seconds pass before the rocket reaches a height of 2,800. Explain why, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's what happens. Here's the ground level, And here's the rocket. Goes up in the air, and then it comes down to the ground. Somewhere here, 2,800, and the measurement unit was feet. So it's shot up in the air. It reaches a maximum height when the speed is going to be 0, and then it drops back to the ground. So we are asked to find the time needed for the rocket to cross this altitude of 2,800 feet. Any suggestions?
Can you read the question again?
Yes, of course. So a rocket is fired from the ground with an initial velocity of 440 feet per second. Its height h after t seconds. Its height after any second, second 1, second 2, second 3, this is the height, is given by the equation, -16t squared plus 440t. Find how many seconds pass before the rocket reaches a height of 2,800 feet. Find the time from the moment we launch it up in the air till it crosses the altitude of 2,800 feet.
So I would rewrite the formula we have to account for the 2,800.
Good. I'm ready when you are.
So I do mine backwards from this. So I would do -16t squared.
This is the correct way.
Plus 440t equals 2,800.
That's the correct way because we know that the polynomial should be on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I tried doing it the other way. It's really difficult.
You can switch it because remember, if A equals B, then B equals A.
Yeah, I just prefer it. That's what I know.
Yeah, of course.
And then you obviously bring the 2,800 over to the other side by making it negative and keeping it out to 0.
Good. So looking at this equation, don't do anything, just answer my question. What would you hope
Divisible.
to get rid of? Yes, by?
4.
-16.
Yeah. I want to get rid of this. I'm hoping to get rid of this completely, if possible. I can do it if it's not, if these 3 numbers are not divisible by 16, I can do it.
440 isn't.
It's not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
27.5.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would
So
be
then-
-8.
Okay then. But that's my initial hope. My initial hope is that I can clear everything here and I just have a leading coefficient of 1. Okay. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we are going to divide both sides by -8. Remember, dividing both sides of an equation by -8 will not change the solution. But please remember, you cannot divide by x or t or the variable. Please remember that, okay? Agreed? Got it? Good. So 2t squared minus 440 divided by 4 is 110. And 110 divided by 4 is,
It's 55.
is it?
Yeah, it's 55.
Plus.
And then 2,800.
How much?
Yeah,
Ooh.
350.
Ooh. Okay, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. And that's why I'm hoping that you are going to get to O12 and you're going to understand that this equation, when the numbers are so big, 2 multiplied by 350, that's 700, okay? And then -55, we're going to factor it, but in the next course you are going to learn a different method that will solve this equation very easily and not having to mess with factoring with numbers that are so big. When numbers are smaller, like up to, let's say 70, 80, or maybe 100 at the most, when you multiply, it's okay to try to factor. But beyond that, it's a waste of time because we have other methods that work much better. Okay, so in this case, it's a trinomial, it's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, 350 is not a perfect square. So 1 is not the leading coefficient, so we go through all this strategy always. Please do not skip anything. And so now the product is 700. and the sum is negative 55. Because the product is positive, that's the thought, that's the train of thought first. The product is positive, which means both have the same sign. And because the sum is negative, obviously both have to be negative. So I have to find two numbers that add up to negative 55. And at the same time multiply, they give us 700. Here is the next step for such numbers. Please watch. Because I'm looking at 700, I'm going to say this is 7 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10, which is 2 and 5, and which is 2 and 5. This is the prime factorization of 700, which is 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 7. Only because this is such a big number, it's kind of difficult to work with. So let's group all these factors into two numbers. And those numbers, when I add them up, I get negative 55. Okay, so let's say we don't see. I'm going to say 5 times 5, 25, and 4 times 7, 28. Or no, 25 plus 28 is not 55. Any other option? 35 plus 20 and 35. That's what I need. 20 and 35. Of course negative, both of them. Negative 20 and negative 35. So now I go back. Can anyone dictate the new equation? The new equation is?
T 2t minus. Oh, never mind. I'm wrong. So.
Minus 20. Minus 35.
That's 22 minus 35. Plus 30.
From the first two.
Factor out 2t.
Awesome. What is left?
T minus 10.
What do I have to write in parentheses?
T minus 10.
Now I look. Sign and factor.
Factor out negative 35.
Indeed. Common factor pulled out.
T minus 10.
In parentheses.
2t minus 35.
How many options will you give?
2.
Perfect. T equals
10 and
seconds. And T equals?
negative 35.
I moved negative 35 to the other.
35,
Yes? Over 2 seconds. So now the question here is asking us, explain why two answers are obtained. Ten seconds. It crosses the altitude of 2800 again on its way back to the ground. So this is the 10 seconds we are talking about. And from here till here, what do I have is 35 over 2, which is 17.5. 17.5 seconds from this point till this point, where it crosses the altitude of 2800 again, on its way down to the ground. Part B, find how many seconds pass before the rocket reaches the ground again. What do I have to do? We still need this here.
Would you substitute T for 10?
No. So 10 is the time between here and here. 17.5 is the time between here and here. Now we want the time between here and here.
Did you add another 10?
No?
Do you multiply times 2?
Say it again. I have to be correct and say to Corey, yes, he's right. Because if this is 10, this should also be 10. So it should be 27.5. Awesome. But I still would like to write something that will convince everyone who did not come up with the idea, okay, just add another 10. Because assuming that the air resistance is the same, assuming that all conditions are the same, there is no wind, there is nothing changes when on its way back, right? So if here it starts with 440 feet per second, it reaches the speed of 0 here and it comes back down with 440, assuming all conditions are the same. So this is not today and it's coming back, 3 days later. It's obviously in seconds, so it's in a blink, right? So yes, so it is correct. It will be 17.5 plus 10 seconds, so by the time it gets here. But how do I write this? Assuming I don't know this. I don't know that. So I don't observe. I did not notice that it's 17.5 plus another 10. What will I have to write? Here you told me that it crosses the altitude of 2800. Well, what altitude does it cross here?
0.
Exactly. So what will I have to write is set this whole thing equal to, that's the height, right? When something is on the ground, the height from the ground is 0. So our equation will be negative 16t squared plus 440t equals 0. Perfect. So then, it's a binomial. It's in descending order. It's an equation. And I can divide in an equation, not by t or x. But what will I divide by to make it easier? Yes, but we decided that negative 16 didn't work. Didn't.
440.
Yes.
Is negative 8.
Negative 8.
Well, wasn't the answer 27.5?
True. So then we have 2t squared minus, you already told me what that was, 55t equals 0. Good. It's a binomial. What do I have to do now? And the answer is, I notice that these two terms have, very good, a common factor. What is left in parentheses? Yes? No. 2t, because t times t squared is not going to t squared. And minus 55. So there are two options, t equals and t equals. Yes, we already have the 27.5 seconds as we knew, 55 divided by 2. And what is the first factor?
0.
Yes, 0 seconds. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. At 0 seconds, the rocket is on the ground, height 0. 27.5 seconds later, the rocket is on the ground again. So that's why we got two solutions. Good, so let's look at something else. Any questions for me?
Can I take a picture of that question?
Yes. I'm going to post this.
Okay.
But yes, you want this? Sure, of course. What page is that? 6, okay. Good. We want more word problems, or we want more factoring or equations?
Some word problems.
More word problems. That's very good. So now you see these are the applications of factoring. That's why we learn how to factor, to be able to solve. Okay. Problem.
Can we do 64?
Yes. Which page am I looking for?
435.
64? 435. Very good. Awesome. Thank you for picking that. Find two consecutive positive even integers. Consecutive positive even integers. Okay? Whose product is 440. Good. So let's try to find an equation that will allow us to solve and find those two even consecutive positive integers. Any suggestions? Say it again.
You said this part is 440?
Yes. Can you give me two consecutive even positive integers? As an example. Just give me an example of two consecutive positive even integers. If the first one, let's say I'll pick 10, which one will be the second?
11.
Even integers.
12.
12. Very good. If I pick 24, what will be the next one?
26.
Yes, so two consecutive even integers. Good, positive even integers. So now if I say to you, the first one is x, please give me the next even positive consecutive integer.
I'll say x plus 2.
Correct. So this is an example of two even positive consecutive integers. One is x, the other one must be x plus 2. We are told that our product is 440. How do I write that?
X times x plus 2.
And then
Equals 440.
that's it. So this is the equation that I have to use to solve for x. And once I have x, of course I have x plus 2. So suggestions then. What will you do?
Rewrite it.
Yes.
So it would be x squared plus 2x minus 440.
Yes.
equals 0.
Yes. I recommend now, because we got into the habit, we understand that the zero product principle requires such and such, 0 on one side and eventually a product on the left, to do these two steps in one, if you want. Okay. Now, again, this is a big deal because of this 440. It messes me up, right? So 440 is 4. First of all, let's say 44 times 10. Then it is 2 times 22. 10 is 2 times 5. And this is 2 times 11. And that's the prime factorization again. 2, 2, 2, 5, and 11. 2, 2, 2, 5, and 11. So I need two numbers whose product is negative 440, which means one positive and one negative, and whose sum is positive 2. Okay, so we have here 20 and 22. Very good, awesome. 20 and 22. So 22 and 20 will be negative because the sum is 2. So then how will you factor?
question.
Sure.
Before this factorizing strategy,
Yes.
I find a question like this. How can you differentiate between which one is quadratic and which one is not?
It all depends on the degree. If the degree is 2, it's quadratic. If degree is 3, it's not quadratic. If degree is 1, it's linear.
Oh.
So I know that this is quadratic and it has to have 2 solutions because the degree is 2. Better? Good. So what is the factor form then?
X minus 1 and x plus 20.
So there are 2 options, x equals and x equals.
Positive 20 and negative 22.
Right. Both algebraically are correct. However, this doesn't make sense here because we are asked to find 2 positive consecutive integers. So I will say that x is 20, and then what will I say about the next?
X is 22.
So these are the 2 consecutive positive even integers whose product is 440. Good pick. Okay, if you want to pick anything else. So anything you'd like from page 434, page 435, page 436. And there is at the bottom a chapter 6 test. And there are other problems at the top on page 437. Do I get to pick?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to pick 85. And that is on page 436. Write the perimeter of each figure as a simplified polynomial and then factor it. Okay, so we are given a triangle and we are told one side is x squared minus 2, the other side is x squared minus 4x, and the base here is 3x squared minus 5x. They're asking us to find the perimeter as a polynomial and then factor that polynomial. So one side is x squared minus 2, the other is x squared minus 4x, and the bottom is 3x squared minus 5x. My pleasure. So then, the perimeter of a figure. How do I determine that? Very good. So then I have to write x squared minus 2 plus x squared minus 4x and plus 3x squared minus 5x. Awesome. So I added them up. Now what? What will be my next step?
Combine like terms.
Yes, I have to combine like terms. Very good. So let's combine like terms. Good. So then the perimeter equals, what will I write?
5x squared.
Very good.
Minus 9x minus 2.
Perfect. So now we are asked to completely factor this. This is not an equation. We are not asked to solve. So always when you are asked to do something, always carefully read the requirements. Carefully. Okay. So we're asked to factor this completely. So what do I do? Go back to my strategy. What is it? Yes, it's a trinomial. It's in descending order. Greatest common factor?
No.
Correct. Negative leading coefficient?
No.
No. So this is a trinomial. I'm checking special products. Any special product works here? No. Is 1 the leading coefficient? I hope. So this is my last chance. Good. Okay. So then what do I have to find? I have to find 2 numbers whose product is
Negative 10.
awesome. and whose sum is
Negative.
correct. See, when we talk about -10 and -9, the factorization strategy is okay. But when we're talking about 440 and 700, no. We have a different method for large numbers, okay? So this is okay here with such numbers, okay? Because it will be longer, the other method will take more time. But when it comes to numbers like the ones we had, in the last half an hour, no, I will not factor. Good. So then what will you say? So -10 and +1 indeed. The product is -10, the sum is -9. Correct. Very good. So then what do? I have to rewrite. It's the whole thing, the whole process, the long process. And I write.
5
Yes.
minus 10 plus
X.
oh plus 1
Minus
You understand we are changing -9x. If I only write -10 plus 1, I'm not getting -9x. So this has to be the same with -9x. I can't change the problem. I can change the presentation because I need 4 terms instead of 3. But I cannot change anything else. Good. So now I know this is factoring by grouping. This is not an equation. Do not write equal to 0. And then,
5x,
good.
X minus
Very good. And from the other two?
X minus
Yes. And now?
1.
Yes, but plus. The symbol has to be there. Good. And then the common factor is?
X minus 2 and 5x plus 1.
Very good.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when there's a special product, do you go by the same formula that you just did when there's not a special product?
It depends on the leading coefficient. If the leading coefficient is 1, I don't have to do all this long procedure. If the leading coefficient is not 1, then I have no choice.
So if the non-leading coefficient isn't 1, you have to break that middle term up into 2 terms?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's not 1. So yes. So this is the last possibility here
Right.
in the strategy. So if it's not 1, then I will have to write 4 terms somehow
Okay.
that allow me to factor by grouping. So Corey, you have
Yeah, I
to.
need to be-
That's fine. So don't forget about the test
Right.
next week from Monday through Friday. Okay, very good. So we factored. Next question. Would you like to pick the next problem? Or I will. Is there any particular type of problem that you would say, I think I need more practice from such and such?
Yes, I do.
Yes, please. Tell me which type.
Give me 1 second. Is 35b squared?
Say it again. 35?
B squared
Yes?
minus 155b minus 100.
So this is not an equation, but this is just a polynomial to factor. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect example. Okay, so I start my strategy. What do I say first?
Distribute.
What do I say first to myself?
Oh, send
What is it?
it here.
And the answer is
Try.
trinomial. Awesome. Is it in descending order?
Yes.
Yes. Greatest common factor. I always hope for the biggest possible common factor because otherwise I'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
So what could I pull out?
5.
Indeed. Let's see what is left. How many terms will you write in parentheses?
3.
Exactly, because we started with 3 and we have to have 3. Perfect. Good. So here's how I think. This times this is this. And the answer is?
70.
Yes. Very good. Indeed. This times this is this. So it's minus. And it is 31b. 5 times 5 is 5. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. And then minus? Yes. Good. Is this a special product?
No.
No, because this is negative and 20 is not a perfect square. 7b squared is not a perfect square either. Good. Perfect. Is 1 the leading coefficient? See, I'm going through the exact steps. Special product? No. 1 is the leading coefficient? No. So I'm here. Last chance. I gave it to you a long time ago. It's not. Yeah. You can have it. So 5 is outside. So I'm looking to find two numbers whose product is.
Okay, so I get it now. So when there's no special product, then you find the two numbers of.
Yes, but you
Yeah.
have to ask yourself whether this is
Oh,
the
never mind, I have
easier case, or is it a more complicated case? Because the easier case is when the leading coefficient is 1. The more complicated case when it's not 1. Anything else but 1.
You can have it back. I found it.
Okay. Thank you. Good. So then 7 times negative 20 is negative 140, which is a huge number. Okay? And their sum is negative 31. So regardless of whether the leading coefficient is 1 or not, the sum never changes. The sum of the numbers you find never changes. Now, if the leading coefficient is 1, then you have over here only negative 20. If the leading coefficient is not 1, then you have to have negative 140. Good. So I look at 140, it's a big one. So 140, it's 14 and 10, 2 and 7, 2 and 5. So negative 140 is the negative in front, 2257. 2257. I want the positive and the negative because the product is negative. So let's look at this.
It's gonna be negative 35 and 4.
Negative 35 and positive 4. Good. So negative 35 and positive 4. Now I have to redo the whole thing and rewrite it because of that 7. That 7 in front messed me up and I had to write 4 terms. So then I have 7b squared. And then I have,
Minus, plus.
it doesn't matter, you can choose the order. You want to write the first one with negative, that's fine. Negative?
35b
Indeed.
minus 4b.
I can, if I put negative, yes. This has to be positive 4.
B
Yes,
minus 20.
that's it. Now from the first two terms, what will you pull out?
Is it 5? No. 7b squared.
But this one doesn't have b squared, so I cannot factor out b squared.
7b.
7b. What is left in parentheses?
7. No. 7b. B
Exactly.
minus
Yes?
5.
Perfect. What should I have coming out from the other two?
B minus 5.
I need a sign and a factor.
4.
And the sign?
Positive 4.
Very good. So this is 5. What is left in parentheses now? What is the common factor that I pull out?
B minus 5.
Yes, that's the common factor. And then what is left?
7b plus 4.
That's it. Now I have to admit, this is not a very easy procedure. But that's why we practiced for a month. Okay. Any questions?
Can always help.